What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. There's a few things going on in the YouTube community, which I will be addressing in a video in a couple hours. This video is not going to be very long, and I'm getting it out a lot later than I planned. But um, I started Mental Health Mondays, or restarted Mental Health Mondays last week with a video on anxiety. And shout out to Cricket Incredible Javier, the creator of the Traviesos animated series, because really he's the one that gave me the idea. He started it many years ago, and I'm just kind of carrying on the torch. So salute to him. And we talked about anxiety last week, and based on the comments, a lot of people got a lot of value from it. Now I have a hard time with how to sell these videos, right? And what I mean is how to advertise them, the titles, the thumbnails, to encourage people to click on it. Because when I look at the analytics, what I see is those who watch these videos watch them for longer than they normally do other videos. And based on the comments, they interact much more. They get more from these videos than some of the other ones. It's just a point of getting folks to actually give the video a chance. And so one way, if you have any ideas, obviously, let me know. I'm all ears. But one way to kind of offset that is to share the video. The prison content, the true crime stuff, all that is not for everybody, but that's the genre that I'm in, right? So that's most of the people who are gonna see what I post, day to day. So by you sharing this video, maybe with somebody who couldn't care less about what else is talked about on this channel, but may get value from this one, then that helps, and if there's people who only tune in for Mental Health Monday and don't watch the rest of the week, that's great. I think these are important conversations. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of that stuff. But mental health is a huge factor. It's a huge factor in all of society, especially amongst men. Most of my audience is men. If you're a lady that's watching it, I appreciate you, and I think you'll get some stuff out of this video as well. Um, but that's who most of the audience is, and as men, we're kind of taught that there's only really one emotion, right? Well, two. You could be happy or you could be angry. That's it, right? So either in a good mood or angry. And obviously we're people. We're a hell of a lot more complicated than that. And so this is space to kind of talk about that. So today I want to talk about loneliness. And it sounds weird even kind of saying it, to be honest, because it's not a word that we associate with people in society very often. It's not a word that guys talk about. I don't know when's the last time I had a conversation with a dude about feeling lonely, right? To be quite honest, and it's awkward, and it's I don't know that we all have the same understanding of it. So loneliness, just to be clear, is not just physical isolation. Oh, I'm injured and I'm in this apartment all by myself, and nobody comes to check on me, and I don't have anybody to talk to, and that is a type of loneliness. That's a form of loneliness. But what more commonly men struggle with is the perception of loneliness. And that's where the real harm is. You know, it it is more bad for your body, so to speak, right? Because cortisol levels raise, and it just does all this traumatic stuff to your organs and your nervous system. It is deadlier physically to feel lonely on a continuous basis than it is to be obese, and yet there's plenty of talk about exercise and diet and health and everything else, rightfully so, but we don't talk about the mental health side of things, and that is that is more dangerous even, and so again, that's kind of what this space is for. Now, 80% of people who lose their life at their own hands, right? Gotta be careful because YouTube algorithm censors and stuff. 80% of people who succeed at that are men, and the vast majority are experiencing loneliness to some degree, right? I have a homeboy. I won't say his name, but I had a friend come from the neighborhood and was involved in all the nonsense of the neighborhood, right? And wound up meeting this girl, fell for her, had a kid with her, and just matured. He grew up. He got a good job. He stayed at it, rose up, made a good living. She made a good living. She was a good girl. She wasn't from the neighborhood. Her family wasn't associated with any of that stuff. and he really jumped headfirst into her world. And in doing so, he cut off the folks he grew up with. He cut off his family. He cut off everybody. Like, bro, that's not me anymore. This is me, right? I'm this guy. I'm this father and this husband and this employee and this responsible, prim and proper dude. That's who I am. And obviously, there's some residuals from his lifestyle and growing up, but I think he just tried to push that to the side. I don't know because I hadn't talked to him in a long time. Nobody had talked to him in a long time. And he gets relationship issues with his wife. They split up. It's not even public that they split up, right? But they were, in that process, things went bad for him. His world got rocked. And he sat with that and ended up taking his own life. And I remember talking to some folks that also grew up with him and knew him. I was like, damn fool, I didn't know. Didn't know what he was going through. It's just a couple years ago, right? I didn't know what he was going through. I just figured everything was good. I don't He don't come around. He don't talk to anybody. Like that's the homie. Got love for him, but he just disappeared. And he didn't disappear to another country. He didn't move out. He was right there, but he wasn't right there. He was in that world. And I think the loneliness got the best of him. The feeling of being disconnected, the feeling of not, nobody understands, right? And I'm guessing he's probably wrestling with some identity stuff, right? And didn't want to come back and talk to folks he grew up with because he had kind of cut them loose. And so there's some guilt there. Like, I don't want to go crawling back to the homeboys now. And I don't mean that in a gang sense, but like, I cut all these people off. Those aren't really my people anymore. But those people understand what I'm going through. Those people understand how I came up. And now that stuff's coming up for me. But I'm not gonna go back. I'm gonna tough it out right here, you know? And then that falls apart. And you can't tough it out right there. Sometimes it just gets too tough. And that's again, it's loneliness, right? It's you start a new job. You start a new job and it's break time and you go into the break room and there's 50 people in the break room. But it's your first day. You don't really know anybody, and nobody's coming along. Hey man, have a seat here. Most of those people are just going about their business, trying to hit the microwave or get the fridge or do whatever they're gonna do. They're not tripping off of you. They're not paying attention to you, and that can leave you feeling really disconnected. And so, as men, I think we go through loneliness a lot, feeling like we're not really understood. We're expected to know what we're doing. We're expected to be okay. And if you're not okay, act like it. Like put up a front because what do you do when you're not okay? Right? If you step into that, if you lean into, man, I ain't doing too well. Who do you lean into that with? Where is the space in society for you to lean into that? No, you gotta handle your business. You go to work, you deal with the kids, you deal with the spouse, you deal with your coworkers, you whatever you have going on in life. You're expected to just know how to deal with it and to do so. And if you don't, then fake it till you make it. Uh, but that can lead to a big feeling of isolation. Like fuck, fool, I don't get it. We hear about these people who get radicalized online, and wind up going and doing crazy random violence at schools and Walmarts and wherever. I think a lot of those folks, it's an extreme reaction. I think a lot of those folks feel disconnected. They're vulnerable to this propaganda and these different, theories and worldviews and whatnot. And they're open to going to such extreme lengths because they felt disconnected. They didn't feel like people understood them. They're the odd one out, man. Nobody really gets it. Nobody knows what it's like to be me. Nobody has going through their head the stuff that's going through my head. Nobody's gone through what I've been through. I look around and everybody got all their stuff together, man. And honestly, I don't have my stuff together. And so they're sheltered in. And then they get on the internet, and on the internet, there's something that piques their interest, that gets their attention. And all of a sudden they have a community. And with that community, they go down these rabbit holes. Again, it's extreme, but I think a lot of us Like probably the things I've been saying so far, I think a lot of us are like, yeah, I can kind of see that, right? I can sort of see that. So what do we do? What do we do about loneliness? In Europe, they did a bunch of studies around it, right? And looked at the health impacts. And when the study started to come out about the physical consequences of feeling of loneliness, doctors and researchers were like, "Oh shit, we gotta do something." Well, what do we do? Let's put a bench at the park, and it'll be the lonely bench. And then if you're feeling lonely, just have a seat there. And if you're walking by the lonely bench and you have some time, provide some company for this person. That kind of misses the point, right? For one, I don't know a lot of guys honestly who would sit at that bench even if they were feeling lonely. I'd laugh at it. Like, you got me. Just gonna sit there? Like the kid that's in trouble in class and gotta sit in the chair in the corner? Yeah, right. I'm not gonna put a spotlight on me. As men, we're conditioned to not put spotlights on ourselves. Right? That's not what we do. We just handle business, homie. That's all. And and so it missed the mark a little bit, because it's not just, oh, I don't have anybody to sit next to me on a park bench. Some of us have 1,000 people in our phone. We got 1,000 people we could call. We come from huge neighborhoods, and maybe you're still in your neighborhood, and you're all kinds of homeboys. You can't walk down the street without somebody recognizing you and knowing you. And man, what's up, homie? Some of us are work, and we have all kinds of friends at work, and we've been at the same job for years. Everybody knows us. Or, we coach T-ball or whatever the case may be. Some of us do have extended networks of people we know. There's people who know our name and we know their name, and we're generally cool to see each other. There's people we go camping with, there's people we play dominoes with, people that we go drink with on Sundays, whatever the case may be, right? Which is kind of unhealthy, toxic. That's another story. But well, so we're not alone, right? Or we're connected to our spouse's family, or we have a big family, and every Thanksgiving there's 100 people there. How could you be lonely? We'll just call. And that's our reaction, right? Like, to other people around us. Like, how could you be lonely? Everybody loves you. You have all these people, or whatever the case is. But yet turn that back on yourself and think of how often you feel isolated, how often you feel like you don't have somebody, and just because you have people that you can call doesn't mean you have people that you can kind of lean into with this feeling of loneliness. Even if you could recognize it, a big part of what I'm hoping to get to with this video is a big part of dealing with any challenge in life, which is acknowledging that it exists. Right. The first step is acknowledging that you got a problem. And I think there's value in us just being conscious of, like, bro, this is a thing. And it's not just a thing for you. This is a thing for everybody. And there's some power in that, right? In being able to identify it. Does that mean you're gonna call your homeboy and be like, hey bro, I've been feeling kind of lonely this last week, man. You lonely? Probably not, right? Probably not. But it's something to be mindful of, and you do need to have somebody. Maybe it's your partner, right? Your old lady, or your dude, whatever, whatever, right? Um, maybe it's your brother, it's a relative, but there should be somebody that you can check in with. And it doesn't have to be these deep, dramatic, emotional, cry on your shoulder fucking conversations. Like, that's not what this looks like a lot of times. And if that's what it does look like for you, then more power to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes we let our mind play tricks on us. Like, fool, I ain't gonna be like that. Okay, well, it doesn't have to look like that to be helpful, right? To be of value to you. But just somebody to check in with, you know. Hey bro, how you been? And somebody, at least one person, right? You should not have many people like that. It's probably not safe, right? But to have at least a person or two that, hey, what's up, fool? You good? Yeah, I'm good. How about you? "Oh, I'm good." That's the standard conversation. That's how you expect it to go when you tell somebody, how you doing. And that's how you're expected to answer when they ask you. They don't really give a fuck how you doing, right? It's just courteous. You good? Yeah, I'm good. All right, cool, bet. We'll have that with a lot of folks, but you gotta have somebody that you can go a step further with, you know? Yeah, but I'm good. Are you though? For real? What's good? That's what I do with my kids, right? Like school, I pick them up from school. How was school today? It was good. That's right. What's good about it? Forces them to stop because that's just their pat answer. That's what they're supposed to say as kids. School was good. What was good about it? Uh, Nothing. Then why'd you say it was good? You bullshitting or what? Like, there's ways to provoke a conversation. There's ways to push. You don't want to make yourself vulnerable to have those conversations with everybody, of course, but you got to have somebody, you know? And so that's another kind of big part of it. Another thing, and this is taboo in our communities, a lot of times, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Getting help from an outside person, from a professional. Doesn't mean you gotta go to some psychiatrist, doesn't mean they're gonna put you on meds, doesn't, like some of you are knee-jerk reaction. I ain't doing that. And some of us, myself included, have had some bad experiences with therapy and that kind of stuff. I've also had some great ones though. The time to get somebody on your team like that, the time to link up with an outside independent person who's not really invested in your life. They're not your friend. They didn't grow up with you or whatever. They're the neutral person. They're the sounding board, right? They're that other one. And there's a lot of value to having somebody like that. The time to try to build that with somebody, ideally, is when you're not going through a crisis. A lot of times it's a loved one dies, we're depressed, we're drowning at the end of a bottle, we're doing all this stuff, and we fall so far from where we are. Oh man, I need help. We're doing so bad. We need help. We need help when we're not doing that bad. And sometimes getting lined up with that help will keep us from getting that far when life does catch up. It is normal and natural and healthy to feel lonely sometimes, right? My brother got killed many, many years ago, right? 1995. I miss him. I feel lonely sometimes for not having him in my life, even though I haven't had him in my life since 1995. That's grief. That's pain, and I'm right to feel that way. I'm allowed to feel that way. It's not unusual for me to feel that way. There's a very important person in my life who I love very much, who I would love to have here with me as I go through life. And I miss that, right? That's okay. You can't sit there though. You know what I mean? That's the difference. So grief or see, even the wife and kids take off for the weekend. You're like, damn, I'm just kind of sitting here. It's quiet. I don't even know what to do with myself, you know? And for some of you guys, you're like, man, I wish that would happen. But for others, we're gonna keep it real. Get kind of lonely. That's a break in the routine. Ah, man, where are they? So it's not as if any feeling of loneliness is bad. I think sometimes with mental health conversations, we make it seem like anytime you feel uncomfortable, you do something to fix it, it's something wrong. No, sometimes that's just life, homie. But that's not all the time. Oh, the light went out. So I'm gonna wrap this video up like this because I'm already about done with it. But I mean, that's my thoughts on loneliness, man. You guys let me know what you think. Was this helpful to you at all? I apologize for the technical difficulties. Help others move into excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you.